Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Friday, May 8th. I hope that you are all doing well. Remember, we are on our Friday to Friday schedule where I assign something for you guys on Friday and it is due the following Friday. So today we take everything we've learned about the Industrial Revolution in both Britain and America, how it influenced America, and we start to look at how it changing lives in America will continue to sort of further that divide between the North and the South. And this week we go back in time a little bit to 1820, and we're going to look at the Missouri Compromise. Okay, we're going to look at the Missouri Compromise this week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you right now, and I'm going to take you to the assignment Global 1. As we know, I just happen to be on G here. It is the same for F. Okay, so we go into classwork and we look at Remote Learning Week 6. You guys know, as always, you will be uploading your assignments to this post right here. So attached below is your assignment for Week 6, as well as this video walkthrough that I'm doing and the notes that will be provided. Over the last couple of weeks, we've looked at how the Industrial Revolution inspired the Industrial Revolution in America in the early to mid 1800s. This week, we step back into the growing divide in the United States between the North and the South by going back to the year 1820 to take a look at the Missouri Compromise. We're going to examine what it was, but also whether or not it worked, and if it could have possibly been improved and how it impacted the country. Okay, so I do hope that you can join me this week for our class time. Wednesday, F block is 11 to 11:45. G is 1 to 1:45. You have any questions, as always, shoot me an email. You can schedule a one-on-one Zoom lesson or conference if you should need to, okay? But also refer to the video lesson that I'm making right now and the slides, which I attach to this, okay? So we got a couple attachments this week. First is your notes for the week. The second is your assignment. We will start with the notes, okay? Let's let this load up here. Again, I hope you're all doing well while this loads. I hope you all had a great week. If you have something fun planned for the weekend. Okay, so the Missouri Compromise, again, 1820. 1820, 5 years after the War of 1812. We're going to look at the Missouri Compromise. Use the videos below to help give you a little bit additional context and background information to help you with this week's assignment. Each week, you guys are familiar with this. I add a couple videos here. Okay, there's one here on the Missouri Compromise. It's about between 4 and 5 minutes long. And then there's one here on the History Channel, which is 3 minutes long. The History Channel one is excellent. Right to the point, 3 minutes long. You cannot go wrong by checking it out. It will help you out, okay? So in 1819, this is what the United States looks like. We've acquired this territory over here, and then we have what's called the Adams-Onis Treaty, okay? That happened in 1819, a year before this all starts to happen, and it draws a line separating Spanish possessions from American possessions over here, and it ceded Florida to us, okay? So this is what the United States now looks like, okay? We jump ahead, and what we're looking at this week, again, is the Missouri Compromise. Missouri wants to become a state, okay? But Missouri wants to become a slave state, and that's going to create a problem in the balance in congressional representation in the government, okay? And we'll get to that in a second. But this right here is a better looking map of what we're looking at the time. And as you can tell when you look at the key down here, these are areas closed to slavery by the Missouri Compromise, because this line right here is the line that they draw, the Missouri Compromise line, the 3630 line. Anything north of it has to be closed to slavery. Anything below the Missouri Compromise line is open to slavery. And we see that in our color-coded key here. The neon green states are free states and territories. Michigan is just a territory at this point, okay? These are our states, okay? And if you notice, Maine is not a state yet. We're going to get to that again in a second too, okay? That's part of the Missouri Compromise. Before the Missouri Compromise, Maine is just Massachusetts. Massachusetts is here and also up here. Okay, a little confusing, I know. But we're going to get to that. And then our orange or reddish colored states here are our slave states. Okay, and again, Florida is a territory. Arkansas is a territory at this point. They are not states. Okay, so jumping ahead, 1818, the territory of Missouri, I'll go back a slide for a second, which is right here. Here is Missouri. Okay. The territory of Missouri submits an application to the United States for statehood, meaning that they have enough people, they meet the requirements, they want to become a state. At this time, there's equal number of senators, 22, in the United States Senate from both free and slave states. Okay, so you have 22 senators because each state has 2 senators. Okay, we know that from our unit on the Constitution. And there's 11 free states and there is 11 slave states. So there is a nice balance. You have 22 senators representing states that believe there should be no slavery, it should be outlawed. And you have 22 senators representing southern states which believe that slavery should be legal. So slavery was legal in the territory of Missouri with more than 10,000 slaves living in that region. But again, they're applying for statehood. They no longer want to be a territory. They want to be a state, which means they will have representation in the government. The admission of Missouri into the Union would have upset the balance in the Senate. Okay, there was a perfect balance in the Senate of slave and free states. Shortly after the territory of Missouri's application for statehood, Maine also applies for admission to the Union. So this actually works out pretty well. Henry Clay, who's a congressman from Kentucky, proposed admitting Missouri as a slave state and Maine, again, which was always part of Massachusetts before this, as a free state. Okay, this will resolve the immediate issue of maintaining the balance in the Senate. And he further proposed drawing a line across the map to determine the slave issue for states that were formed out of this territory. That is the line I showed you earlier. Anything above 3630 would automatically be admitted as a free state if they did apply for statehood, and anything below 3630 could choose slavery. I'm going to go back to show you that line right here. This is the 3630 line. Okay, so anybody that would apply for statehood in this area up here, okay, again, this is not us yet. These areas here, this is the Oregon country and this is Spanish possession. Okay, anyone applying up here, it was closed to slavery. And if Arkansas wanted to apply for statehood, they could apply to be a slave state, to enter the Union as a slave state. Same with Florida. Okay, Florida is a territory at this point. So let me go back to the slide that we're on here. Okay, moving on. The Missouri Compromise pleased no one. Neither side is happy with this, okay? It's basically just a Band-Aid to, I've mentioned this for months now, really kick the can down the road on the issue of slavery. No one is tackling the major issue that's happening here at this time, okay? They're just sort of pushing it off. Okay, the Missouri Compromise, it admits Missouri as a slave state. Oh, hey, Maine wants to be a state. They're going to enter as a free state. Okay, we're good. Okay, that takes care of it. We're still even. It doesn't address the big issue. Northerners are angry about the extension of slavery to Missouri, and Southerners don't like the fact that anything north of this line in this Louisiana territory is banned from entering as a slave state. Okay, so Southerners dislike the ban on slavery in much of the Louisiana territory. Because again, if we go back and look at this map, most of this area here has to be closed to slavery if they enter as a state. Okay, there's only this small area down here, and that's going to make the South very unhappy. Okay, so the compromise eased tensions temporarily, but it was not a permanent solution to the major underlying cause, which is slavery. Nothing had been settled about the future of slavery. Okay, here's another map. This is a pretty clear one here for you guys. You see the Missouri Compromise line right here. This does a really nice job of pointing out the areas here that are states. We know Michigan is a territory. And again, if you refer to your key over here, we know that these are free states. These are slave states. And these here, purple is open to slavery by the Missouri Compromise, and pink is closed to slavery by the Missouri Compromise. Okay, just another map to help you guys with that. Okay, so moving on to this week's assignment. Okay, your mission this week is to read and examine what the Missouri Compromise was, which we just went over, and how it affected the country. Over the last few weeks, we've mentioned the growing divide in the country, and this week we look at the admittance of Missouri as a state into the Union and how that threatened to upset the balance in Congress between free and slave states. The Missouri Compromise made neither side happy and only delayed the escalation of tension between the North and the South. It would only lead to more conflict and divide in the future. Okay, we are 40 years away at this point in 1820 from the Civil War. So your task this week, you are to read the section below, which is right here on the Missouri Compromise. Okay, it's very, very short. It's about 2 pages, maybe a little more than 2 pages. This is one of your shorter readings. Okay, not very long. Okay, so your first thing that you need to do is you can check out the notes, which I'm going to link right here. You can watch my video lesson, which I'm in the middle of right now. I will link that here. And once you finish the reading, you have 2 tasks at the end of your reading. First, you will need to create a slideshow, Canva, or Prezi, or a video where you highlight the differences between life in the North and life in the South by giving at least 3 important details about life in each region: life in the North, life in the South. So 6 total. 3 details about life in the North, 3 details about life in the South. Okay, and that's how we start to look at these differences between the two that are going to eventually clash, how they are different, why they are different. Okay, and the second part of your assignment this week is I want you to explain whether or not you believe the Missouri Compromise was an effective plan. Did it work? Was it an effective compromise? If yes, why? If no, what would you have suggested? How could it be better? This assignment will be graded on your rubric on personal accountability and responsibility, as it has been for the last few weeks, and it is due by Friday, May 15th, end of day. Okay, I put another little map here on here for you, and if you look through, this is your reading. Okay, again, not very long, and your assignment is attached at the end. Your 2-part assignment right down here. Your first part, again, I will go over it again, is to create a visual presentation regarding the differences between the North and South by listing at least 3 important details about the way of life in each region. So again, 6 total: 3 for the North, 3 for the South. Some ideas for apps that you could use are Slides, Canva, Prezi, or you can create a video explaining the difference. And you can do a video response to this too. I really would prefer you do this instead of a Google Doc this week. Okay? So please try and be creative. Please try to not use a Google Doc this week. Try something different. The second part of your task this week is, do you believe the Missouri Compromise was a sufficient compromise, a sufficient solution? If yes, explain why, using examples from your reading, from your notes, from outside sources about why it worked. Okay? I want to hear from you why it was successful, why it worked. Okay? That one's going to be more difficult because it didn't work. Neither side was happy. Okay? If no, what would you have proposed as a compromise? Come up with your own compromise on the issues that led to the Missouri Compromise. You can take parts of the Missouri Compromise, what maybe did work, okay, to create your own, and create something that's better. Create something that will be more of a lasting compromise on the issue of slavery in the United States. Okay, and remember, take into account both sides. The South is dead set against abolishing slavery. Okay, they will go to war for that. So your compromise can't just be that you end slavery. You have to compromise, which means that you have to give and take. Both sides need to agree on things. That's what makes this so difficult. Okay, so that is your assignment for the week, is to read this, which is a little more than 2 pages, and answer these 2 questions. When you are done, as always, again, you upload it to the week 6 remote learning tab here in Classroom. Okay. If you guys have any questions on the Missouri Compromise, on what we are working on here, please just email me. You guys know I'm pretty responsive to emailing. I will email you back, I promise. You can also ask me during our class time. Wednesday, F block is 11 to 11:45. G block, you are 1 to 1:45. I also have my office hours on Friday from 12 to 1. If you have any questions, if you need any help, please reach out to me. Okay. I am happy to help. Okay. So, with that, enjoy the Missouri Compromise. Okay. And think about how it could have been improved. Okay. Think about what they could have done differently, what they could have done better, because this will not work. We do know that the Civil War does happen 40 years from this. Okay. All right. I miss all of you. I hope that you are all doing well, that you are safe, that you are healthy, and that your families are doing well. If you have any questions, just reach out. All right. Enjoy the day, everybody.